Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I'm here to make the case for forests and how forests can help you improve your carbon accounting and act as a natural technology for developing climate-smart mining. I've heard a lot today about other types of technologies. I haven't heard forests once. They've been invisible. We need to get them top of mind for you. And I'm going to need to use my notes, I'm afraid, because there's a lot of statistics, because I'm not going to make the business case, and I'm not going to go too much into how. I want to make the moral case. I want you to leave this room thinking, I have to integrate forest smart mining into how we run our minds and how we think about this at corporate level. So let's start with some biodiversity issues. Scientists estimate that there are between 10 and 100 million species on this planet. Of those, 1.7 million have been scientifically described, and only 1% of those, 17,000, have been carefully studied. We don't know what we don't know about life on Earth and what it has to offer us, and yet it is disappearing. In 50 years, we've lost 50% of our animals by mass. In 100 years, we've lost 97% of large mammals. And in a world where we place increasing importance in information, it gives me hope to think that this definition of biodiversity by Damien Carrington might inspire corporations and governments to protect biodiversity. He says, biodiversity represents the knowledge learned by evolving species over millions of years about how to survive through the vastly varying environmental conditions Earth has experienced. Seen like that, when we destroy a forest, we are burning the library of life. But the world has lost 50% of its forests already. We're losing 48 football fields a minute. Without forests, the world's biodiversity diminishes irreparably, and we are weaker and less able to adapt. So why do forests matter? I've told you about biodiversity, but another obvious one is ecosystem services. They supply us half of the world's oxygen. They give us pharmaceuticals and food. They supply firewood and livelihoods for 25% of the world. 65% of families rely on it for cooking and heating materials. So these utilitarian arguments are really important, and that gets policymakers' attention. But it's also an issue of social justice, over space and over time. We are diminishing natural and cultural heritage for future generations, and we're violating other people's human rights today when we destroy forests. We're destroying things that are irreplaceable. What gives us that right? But personally, and this is important to me, and I think as human beings, it really matters. Forests are things of great beauty and wonder. They enhance my life. I go into forests for moments of contemplation, for therapy, for joy and play and discovery with my family. Without forests, we are all worse off. But we're here today to talk about carbon, and that's where it really hits home. Forests are essential for all life on Earth because of the way that ecosystems are interconnected. They regulate ecosystems. They stabilize carbon levels in the atmosphere. They are enormous carbon sinks. But when we deforest areas, we don't only destroy the possibility of sinking carbon, we're releasing carbon into the atmosphere. 1/3 of global carbon dioxide emissions comes from deforestation. That's equivalent to oil consumption. Just think what we could do if we stopped deforestation. We could get 1/3 of the way towards limiting global warming to just 2 degrees. 1/3 of the way. We'd also save money because being natural technologies, we don't have to invest in man-made technologies and the enormous infrastructure necessary to build ecological resilience in to cope with climate change. If we planted 1 trillion trees, in fact 1.2 trillion trees, on abandoned land in parks, not touching agricultural production, this is possible. Dr. Timothy Crowther has shown it. Then we would suck up 400 gigatons of carbon. That is a decade of carbon emissions. That would buy us some time, and we could even start to talk about climate repair. So we have to nurture and protect forests, and we all have our part to play. And that really includes economic actors, and it especially includes mining, because mining is the 4th highest driver of deforestation. We did work this year for the World Bank in the last 2 years on forest smart mining. And this is some of our findings. And there's a lot more, and we're releasing the reports on the 10th of May. We did this work with partners FFI and SGAB. The top 3 minerals mined in forests in large mines are gold, iron ore, and copper. The minerals that have the highest reliance on forest mines are nickel, titanium, and aluminium. In 2015, approximately 1,500, or almost half of the operational large-scale mines were located within 50 kilometers of a forest, and that's the buffer zone through which a mine has an influence on a forest. 7% of those are in tropical rainforests, and tropical rainforests hold about 50 to 75% of our biodiversity. And most growth in the mining sector right now is happening in the tropics. Over half of the large-scale forest mines are in low-income and middle-income countries. 3/4 of those are ones where the World Bank is operating. And in these countries, sector governance is typically weak, and forests are less protected. The outcomes look bleak. Artisanal mining, which I work a lot on, is also working in mangroves, temperate forests, and in tropical forests, from Ukraine to Indonesia to Madagascar and Brazil. The drip of degradation from artisanal mining continues, and we can't ignore it just because it's not the top of the list as the threat. So I need to finish. I think what I want to say to finish is that many citizens largely see mining as a necessary evil. Miners have tremendous and impressive capabilities to work across disciplines, to change the world. Is protecting forests really beyond all of you? I don't believe you. Believe that, sorry. I think miners can be stewards, and I challenge you to prove to me that you can, to prove me right, and to prove those dissenters wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Estelle.